Do you know what? Normally, I'll dig up a clip online or something related to what I've recorded, witty, funny, interesting, depending. This time, I just want to shout out two guys I met today at the weigh-in because, stuff that happens in the shadows should always be surfaced. There goes my microwave. I just wanted to shout out Cameron Lewis, or should I say Sergeant Cameron Lewis? I don't know if he's still a sergeant, but Sergeant Cameron Lewis. A lovely lad I met today at the weigh-in. Good boxer. Used to box with the RAF. I think he boxes for Guildford City. Weirdly enough, before I saw him, I'd seen one of his fights because I follow grassroots boxing. And so I had some videos to watch that were queued up. And so I think he fought on Sunday against Polish kid. Needs to go back to what he does best, man. Just beating people up. He was on some Shaolin monk business in that one. And I was like, nah, you don't need to do that. Just beat him up, man. You're good at beating people up. Just do more of it. Don't ever doubt yourself. Just do more of it. Second guy I wanted to shout out was Jack Aldain. So different line of work. So he's more of an author. Wants to write a boxing biography about a boxer. I kind of can't say his name, but just understand he's the top of the tree, and there are people fighting tomorrow that would love to take him on. Put it that way. So he's doing that, and I wish him all the best in that. And it's always good to just meet people who enjoy the pod, man. It puts a smile on my face. And I know when I record, sometimes I just get lost in the details, so I forget to do these things. So I thought, let me just make sure I surface it front and center and just show my gratitude, man, because look, I'm sat here staring into a microphone. There isn't an audience to G me up or to get energy off. So when I do meet people in the real world, that's the accountability I'm here for. If I say the wrong thing, things will happen too. But no, I really appreciate that. I'm grateful forever for that. And that's the kind of energy you want when you're like, do I need to carry on? And that's kind of that kick up the backside to carry on and be better. So really appreciate that, guys. And I just thought I'd just shout them out, and then we can just sort of kick on as the music starts to fade now. Hey, and welcome back to the #1 podcast in the sport, where, as always, I'm out there in the public at the weigh-ins looking for people who are upset with anything I say, and there's no hate, only love. And so come home smiling, going, aren't boxing fans some of the nicest people on earth? Not all of them, can be a bit mental. But there's nothing like a mass weigh-in like that to really see what the boxing fan base is, and it's an incredibly broad church. Look, what we want to do in this pod is just kind of like just fly through everything before the fight. So, just that last sprinkle of like pre-fight magic dust just to get people excited. Because I'm now at that point where I'm like, I want to see some stuff happen. That just seeing those guys at the weigh-in, seeing the energy, I mean, it kind of rubs off on you. So I just wanted to do that. So probably just touch on the weigh-in initially, and then let's really talk about some of the fights and some of the key moments that we can look forward to. In terms of the setup, now, if we look at the macros of this, and we look at Saudi Arabia and how people felt when the Saudis first got involved, I think what they've been really smart at this week is making sure they penetrate the heart of Britishness. The fight happens at Wembley Stadium. We know what that means to this country. We know what those guild halls mean in the City of London. Like, they're the foundation of the City of London. Press conference there. We also know what Trafalgar Square means to Britain, right? Nelson's column. We know what Trafalgar Square is. We know what the Battle of Trafalgar was all about. And for them to have posted up in these key locations, and in these key locations, you're hearing His Excellency, His Royal Highness, all these things here. That's a huge win for Saudi Arabia. And whatever they're paying for this event, they're getting 10 times the benefit. They're not stupid. They understand the principle of leverage. If you do a really simple activity in an iconic place, the leverage is ridiculous. So you've got all these tourists going, what's this Riyadh season all about? What's all this boxing about? They really did their job, and you have to applaud that. And, we're now getting to the point where we can't really talk about human rights records, man. I think they've kind of penetrated the system now. And now it's just, how long does the Saudi money last? But if we roll back and look at the event itself, it managed to secure the perimeter well. I was tempted to sneak in the back. I think I could have done. If it had been another security firm, I reckon I could have gone in the back. But because it's like that OG Frank Warren one, and there's some of them I know I could get away with it, but they weren't the guys. So I was like, nah, let me not push my luck, man. But next time I'm going to sneak in the back. So if you are connected to any of those broadcasters, just make it easy for me and send me the damn lanyard, please. You know what I mean? I need to get on to whoever coordinates the Riyadh season stuff and make sure that, you know what I mean, I get taken care of. Because I need to be backstage. I need to be on that stage. I want Steve Bunce talking about me. But let's just talk about the weigh-in. So, me being the idiot, I got there at 4:30, thinking it was going to start at 5. I'll be gone by 6. Got to watch it with a good friend of mine, Nicky Sanford, ex-Lodge legend, really nice guy. How do I describe Nicky Sanford? One of the most positive guys I've ever met. Like, you'd be training with Nick, and you were knackered, and he's still just smiling, like, come on, let's keep going. And you're like, how is he always so optimistic? I can see why he's an incredible personal trainer, but Nick, top guy. A lot of you, if you're around boxing and kind of personal training and stuff, you'll know Nicky Sanford, especially in South London. Top guy. Pleasure to watch the weigh-in with him. Really enjoyed it. Thought the idea was brilliant, by the way. I thought that was a really good idea. It gave the event the cachet it deserves. There's some things I want to moan about, like the choice of music. I don't think the DJ was paying attention to the audience. It feels like he'd already chosen his set. But when you're looking at an audience and there's a majority of people over 33, you know what I mean? You got to play some songs that are age appropriate. And I don't feel that's happened. And there's this increasingly annoying trend of focusing on the young and almost taking some of us for granted. But we're the core of this thing. Whether boxing likes it or not, it's us. Now, do I need to hear Oasis? Probably not. Maybe Push Me on the Verve, a bit of Pulp, whatever, right? But I don't need to hear anything else. So I thought the music, it didn't really get people in the mood properly. But you can fix that easily. They just need to, let me word this carefully. They need to stop believing that everyone that comes to a boxing event and a weigh-in is from Brixton or Lewisham or Croydon, right? Most people there have no idea who these artists are, so we need a bit more familiarity. If you're really trying to make it a broad church, you got to broaden the appeal. And I don't like saying that because I understand the implications of what I just said. But this is a country that has a certain demographic, and that demographic also needs to feel comfortable for them to spend their money. It's as simple as that. I also felt some of the stuff was there's a lot of dead time there that wasn't necessary. I think it all could have been compressed into something a bit quicker. And the reason I say that is actually not really about the fans. But you think about this. If you're Anthony Joshua, you probably weighed in at about 10 o'clock in the morning, right? And your weight's done. So you've done nothing all day but wait for this. So you can't even really relax, right? Then you've had to shuttle across London to get there. Sit around in one of these gazebos that they set up for you. And then you're going to do your weigh-in, you're going to do your press, you're going to do all of that stuff. By the time you leave Trafalgar Square, it's about 7:30, 8 o'clock. By the time you get to your hotel, 9:30, 10 o'clock. That's not how I'd want my boxer to be preparing for a fight. I need a point where everything's cut off. Ideally, by 6 o'clock, everything's cut off. That means you can just start to wind down. The cortisol levels can come down. The adrenaline can unwind, and you can just kind of mellow out and focus before you go to sleep and get a good night's sleep. So I do wonder if someone on this card is going to look leggy and tired because this weigh-in felt like a step too far in terms of just time-wise and logistics. But in terms of presentation, I don't like saying it, right? Because it sounds like I'm kissing ass. But Dev Sani's been the MVP this week. His on-mic skills from when he started doing all of this till now, incredible. Like he's damn decent at public speaking. And what I like about him is he can freewheel it when he needs to. And so I think he was good with Joseph Parker. I think he was good with Eddie and Frank. Got the right sort of energy. He's this kind of like I said about Nikki Sanford, right? Really positive energy, nice energy, friendly. It's disarming. So you don't have much tension when Dev's on stage. And maybe that's his value in this whole Riyadh season thing where you've got competing promoters. You can't dislike Dev. But I think he's had a good week. So salute to Dev for that. Dev, make sure I get my lanyard too. So I thought that was good. Thought Eddie and Frank were okay. Eddie did the speech about, the importance of amateur clubs. I don't feel he does enough. I feel he talks about it, but he's got the money. His company makes enough money. He could make an impact. They're also about the Matching Foundation, and once a year they'll go somewhere like the Lynn, and it's grateful and it's appreciated. But there are other clubs, and there's more help that's needed. And I don't see him lobbying and using his platform to pressure the government or to pressure governing bodies to be more supportive of amateur clubs. And I wish he did. And the reason I wish he did is we need that help. And he needs that help or there's no pipeline. Because he knows that after Joshua goes is hard. Like, who are you going to go with? He's hoping one of these young heavyweights steps through. Courtney Bennett, Delicious Ori, Jamie TKV. Who else is young? I'm going to shout out Curtis Woodhouse's guy, Adrian King, because if I don't, he's just going to hammer me anyway. So there are loads of these big guys. Matty Harris, that's Mickey Helliott's lad. So there are loads of these guys that Hearn's hoping become the next big force. But we need to keep investing because those guys are getting on in age as well. They're hitting their peak years. So we need to make sure these clubs are alive. So I thought that was good. Love Frank, saluting London, London born and bred. So I love that. That was really, really good. As I said earlier, Joe Parker was good. Love the fact that he's out fight anyone. And he was talking in a way where he almost knows that if the timings don't allow an undisputed fight next for the winner of this fight, I think Parker will be inserted into fighting probably fighting the winner. Which would be interesting. I mean, to see what Joe Parker can do. But not a fight that the fans are massively calling for. But credit to Joseph Parker. You got to think, like, in New Zealand, it doesn't matter if he's getting traction. Like, New Zealand's a country where everyone's leaving. Like, they're getting a massive brain drain. And on a political note, no one talks about the damage Jacinta Ardern did to that country, which we're only now realizing. Just a whole load of problems that she's left. But at the time, people were telling you she was a great leader. It looks like she's left an absolute mess there. So presentation-wise, it was okay. The Michael Buffer was there. I don't think it's necessary anymore. I think we're moving past Michael Buffer now. There's almost too many egos there for us to really appreciate anyone. What would you say about the crowd? I thought the crowd was friendly. The lot from Doncaster, I think Chamberlain's opponent, Zappardi, they came for smoke and really, really good because they're the ones who told us that thing fighting Chamberlain, right? Chamberlain hadn't made weight. So they had to move it to a junior welterweight bout because he hadn't made weight. So they were livid, right? So they were there just abusing him, and they came en masse. And good to see some of the Donny people appreciating Porky's corner as well. So I enjoyed that. So from an audience perspective, really friendly. I ended up next to this lady who just kind of walked in and she was looking at me like, so is every weigh-in like this? And I was like, God, no. This is what happens when oil money touches boxing. This is just oil money being spent. This is the equivalent of the gold-plated Lamborghini, right? As I just enjoy it while you can. This is the equivalent of the custom-made G-Wagon with like 16 wheels, whatever it is they do. As I just enjoy it. And she seemed to have a good time, although she disappeared. Maybe it was my fault. I don't know. But no, she was lovely. I obviously, like I said, I was with Nikki, there were a couple of lads. Something I will say that, and like someone explained this to me. Why is there this real dislike of Irish Catholics? Because there was a guy singing just F the Pope and people were laughing along and no one was really offended by it. But I was offended. I'm like, why is this guy saying that? I thought that anti-Irish stuff was for the birds, man. It's sad that that's still there. And I think that's the side of boxing I don't really like, is when people bring that kind of football nonsense into it. Because boxing's not that. Now, boxing historically is... Man, I just got struck down, man. I got struck down for talking crazy. So what I'll say is boxing has traditionally united people and communities. I don't like it when rhetoric and energy becomes divisive, because that's not what it's about. The division and the conflict should only ever happen in the ring. So that was one of the things. Loved seeing dads and kids there. Something I want to say, like, I'd never seen this before, but I love this. So Hamza Shiraz, Team Shiraz, were just firing t-shirts and gloves, signing gloves into the crowd. And that really energized the crowd. I'm not even going to lie. That really energized the crowd. And you can see people feeling differently about Hamza Shiraz. So whoever thought of that, salute, because for whatever money you spent doing that, the impact is a lot greater. So credit where credit's due for that, because no one else seemed to really think out the box like that. So crowd-wise, everything was cool. Like, there were thousands of people in there. It wasn't a joke. Do you know what I mean? Whatever you saw on screen, that was how real it was. And, you know what I mean? That's a time where you're proud to be involved in boxing. And let's be honest, only Anthony Joshua fights can do that. Maybe if you had Eubank versus Canelo, we'd show out like that. But that's more us honoring Canelo being an all-time great. But in terms of, like, just generally, it's Joshua. And so salute to him for doing that. So things I gleaned from the weigh-ins. I don't know if it was me, so would like to know other people's feelings. It looked like Tyler Denny just had a look at Hamza Shiraz and was just like, oh, he is big. Wow. He looked, I don't want to say he looked in awe, but he looked like, okay, bit bigger than I thought, bit bigger than I'm used to. I still think Tyler Denny will do what Tyler Denny does, but that look that I saw, I was like, oh, not good, but let's not read too much into it. Thought Willie Hutchinson was class. His fans were there, like, so when you hear Boatsy getting booed, like, it looked like half of Scotland was there. It sounded like half of Scotland was there. The only downside was they all came late, right? So they all ended up at the back. Had those guys shown up earlier, been at the front, it would have been a completely different energy. But yeah, Boatsy was getting more boos and cheers in his own city. Willie Hutchinson, more cheers and boos in a city that's not his. And I thought he presented himself really well. If Willie Hutchinson wins this, he's going to become a cult figure, a guy that you just want to see do well. So I think he played that off really well. Chamberlain's just Chamberlain. Josh Kelly and Idris, is it Idris? Ishmael Davis, sorry. Yeah, they just did their thing. Nice and, you know, simple. Lee Eaton obviously on stage, loving life. I mean, that was good to see. And then if we just touch on Joshua and Dubois. People say Joshua got the better of the stare down. I thought Joshua looked nervous. Because there's a thing Joshua does at weigh-ins where he stands and he tries to make himself as big as possible in the hope that that backs people away. And you see Dubois, like, because I've known Daniel long enough, he was relishing that moment. Like, Daniel's not a guy to be scared of another person. That's not him. That is not him at all. He will want this. And he showed that he wanted it as far as I'm concerned. Looked in tremendous shape. Came in at 248 pounds. I think my range was 244 to 247. So he's kind of within tolerance of what I thought he'd be. Definitely sub 250. What's Joshua come in at? 252, 253? A little bit heavier than he would be if he was trying to move around. Like, remember when he was trying to be a mover, he'd come in the sort of low 240s, maybe 239. So that tells me that Joshua just wants that extra bit of ballast to keep himself strong. So he's probably just trained for strength, not necessarily for weight, but he's trained to be strong. And if it does get into those close quarter clinches, he wants to make sure that he can establish some kind of respect from just understanding the weight he's come in at. The main difference between those two when you look at them is how thick Daniel is from front to back versus Joshua. Joshua's quite wide, but quite hollow from front to back. Why is that important? When most punches are kind of pushing you backwards, the ability to resist that kind of force, I think, comes from being quite thick. If you look at Usyk's quite thick. Fury's not. Fury's a big guy, but Fury's kind of hollow up top as well, if you really think about it, as is Wilder. But Zhang, solid front to back. Joyce, solid front to back. Even Yoka's quite solid from front to back. And they seem the guys who are best able to take shots. So that's going to be interesting in terms of who can take the shot. So I thoroughly enjoyed that. I thought the weigh-in was good. I think they can work on the concept a bit, so credit to the creative guys who came up with the idea. One thing I will say, interesting that they brought out Eddie and Frank and didn't bring out Ben Shalom for the promoters. But Ben's got, Tyler Denny, he's got Joshua Boatsy as well, I think, and he would have had Liam Smith. So he would have been an interested stakeholder in a lot of that, but he was marginalized. And then there's a story about when they were on stage and Ben was trying to talk slick to Eddie, and Eddie was like, I'll knock you out. And I was like, this is the 1 week we needed Ben Shalom to be that guy that Sky can believe in. And I think they're just looking at this like, almost like people looking at Keir Starmer now going, what do we do? I mean, it's a little bit of a worry, but, you know, let's not focus on that until we have to. But overall, I thought the weigh-in was good. Thought everyone played their part well. I thought, like I said, Dev was MVP. He's been MVP this week, so credit where credit's due on that. But I want to touch on the Don Charles thing. I think it's important we talk about this because, man, I've made my position on this public. I don't like it because even if Don had lost his role, why would we want to be talking about it at a time where it's just destabilizing for everyone involved? If he hasn't, then it's just nasty stuff to be talking about. And if the man is truly sick, probably the last thing he needs to be dealing with, right, is just mindless gossip. So you had these mealy-mouthed idiots like Enzo Macronelli and Spencer Fearon just coming out in public. Yeah, heard Don's been sacked. Spencer went all the way. Like, if you really listen to Spencer this week, he's attacked Dubois' dad. He does huge. He does this. You know, just clown talk. Genuine clown talk, right? And this is the stuff Porky Ross was warning people about, and Porky was called a troll. So he attacks Dubois' dad. Then he attacks Don Charles. Remember he said, what did he say? He said, I've never heard Daniel Dubois praise Don Charles as a trainer. I've never heard Daniel Dubois praise Kieran Farrell as a trainer. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of what happens in boxing. Trainers are taken advantage of. I've never heard Spencer Fearon praise any of his trainers. Do you know what I mean? So he was trying to insinuate that Daniel wasn't happy in his training environment, right? And what annoyed me was no media outlet said, what's this based on? Do you have inside information? Because right now, you're disrespecting both sides. So how can you have access to information if you're not cool with either side? And go back when Spencer was like, yeah, I'm close with the Dubois family. Daniel's like a nephew to me. His father's like a brother to me. When he thought he could sniff a few quid out of that Dubois situation, yeah, they were best friends and they were family. Same with Don Charles when he thought he could sniff out an opportunity. Yeah. Now that they've kind of gone together and they look like they're going to make money without him, money that he can't even dream of, now the hate comes in. But I also think it's a deeper thing. I think in Spencer's situation, his problem is so many people have occupied that kind of shock jock space he used to be in that his words don't move the needle anymore. Carl Froch has his own platform. He can do 100,000 views just speaking his mind. Hearn's now moving into that space of, I want to talk about more than just boxing, you know? So he's kind of eating into that space. Frank Warren's become more of a voice. He's eating into that space. You got pods like this one eating into that space. Spencer Fearon's just getting drowned out. He's not the guy people go to anymore. He's not that one source of knowledge. And he hasn't been since he got thrown out of toe to toe. And why did he get thrown out of toe to toe in Sky in general? Because he was talking nonsense about Oscar Rivas, unfounded allegations, and they threatened to sue. So here you go. He gets a cease and desist letter. So he's back to square one. He's just making unfounded allegations and insinuations. And this is a man who's 51. It's sad. But sometimes you just got to accept that you're not relevant to where the sport is right now. And he's not, because it's gone in a different direction. Like, you know, Spencer tried to be a guy that appealed to hardcores. That's what he wanted. And now he's trying to go mainstream and try and, you know, clout chase. But there's a certain age you can't clout chase. And I just feel, for a man who claimed to be pro-black and all about black unity and black empowerment and black advancement and this, that, and the other, to pull down two black men trying to feed their families. Poor form. Absolutely disgusting. And it's just a reminder, ultimately, he's always been in it for himself. That's all. There are many stories I could tell you about Spencer promising stuff and it not coming through, and people ringing me up going, you were right, this guy doesn't deliver. He talks a good game, but he can't deliver, even though he's got the means to deliver. Do you know what I mean? So, I don't know. Hopefully, all those channels that were broadcasting Spencer are going to have the video saying, mate, explain your lies to us. Why did you lie? Why did you make this up? Now, there's a small chance that this is just a managed exit, right? There's a small chance where you say, look, Don was ill. We'll bring him in on a Saturday in a ceremonial role. Someone else will leave the corner, but Don will be there. And then they'll say, look, we've decided to part ways. But for that to make sense, Daniel would have to lose. If Daniel wins, I don't see how you get rid of Don Charles. That wouldn't make any sense, and I think that will turn people against Daniel. But if he loses, I can see that being a managed exit. But there's only a small chance of that. That's just me speculating. If there was going to be an exit, that's how you'd have a managed exit. So everyone would be on message for fight week, keep the harmony going, don't any distractions. Afterwards, you'd hear them go, right, we're going in a different direction. But then I asked the question, to go where? Like, his dad has taken him to almost every amateur trainer in London, every pro trainer in London. And apart from Adam Booth, I think he's almost out of options. But it wouldn't surprise me if they took him to America and said, yeah, he needs to learn something different. But I don't think Daniel does. I don't. I think Daniel's just got to learn that he's going to be a very basic boxer. Yeah? And so he's got to focus, definitely tomorrow, he's got to focus on being harder to hit than he's ever been. Same with Joshua. Remember, these two guys had a whole career, amateur and up to now as professionals, of just overpowering people. And they got away with it against lower skilled, lower experienced people. Against each other, they can't get away with that. They have to make themselves harder to hit than they've ever been. And that means Daniel's got to keep his hands up, and he's got to be able to ride punches, roll with them, but come straight back with his own shots. That's how he's going to win this fight. I don't think he's ever going to narrow his stance so he's not so square. That's going to be who he is. He's just got to learn how to defend from that position. Now, I'd say the same for Joshua too, but I think Joshua's got more strings to his bow. Like, Joshua can go into war mode, but he can try and box as well, at distance, box and move. Whether that's going to work, I don't know. But that's going to be an intriguing fight. Like, I think I've covered both sides of that. I think Joshua will stop him. And my main reason for that is those right hands that Hrgović was landing were like novice-y right hands. Like, there wasn't any genius setup play behind him, just a jab and a right hand, jab, right hand. If the right hand missed, he just threw a hook to the body. Just did the same every time. Finishing on a hook is a very underrated thing in boxing. You'll be surprised at how many people you drop when you finish off on a hook. So that's what I think. If I was going to put money, if they said rounds 1 to 6, Joshua by knockout or TKO, I'd take it. I just would. I feel Joshua can land that right hand. That's his punch. Do you know what I mean? That is his shot. And he throws his straight. Unlike Dubois. Dubois has to arc and stuff. I don't even understand why boxers don't throw those straight right hands. Just rifle it through the middle. There's nowhere to go. Like, if you pull back, it's going to follow you. But that would be my tip. I just think Joshua will stop him because there's too much power in those shots. Now, there's obviously the thing that if Dubois catches him early, hard work. I almost think, and I'm interested to know your opinion, guys. If you're Daniel Dubois, you step out to the middle of that ring, you try and get there as quickly as possible and work out what's Joshua going to do. If you see Joshua trying to be cagey and back off, I just blitzkrieg him. I just be like, do you know what? I'm just going to go after him and see what he does. If he responds in kind and he's like, oh, then you cover up, make him work. Because Usyk did that in the first fight. He made Joshua work at a pace he wasn't comfortable with. And then once the lactic kicked in, he just couldn't get it back. If Dubois can do that and make Joshua work at a pace in that first round he's not built for, the minute recovery is not enough. Now, can Dubois recover in that minute, though? That's also the question. But if he can, that's how you mess with Joshua. So he's never in a position to recover and relax. You keep increasing that lactate, so he's got to fight the pain of your punches and the pain of the lactate. That would be my main thing in this fight. I'd be saying to Daniel, if he doesn't come for war, set about him. See what he does. Just set about him. Tight guard, double jabs, left hooks, left hook to the body, shovel something up the middle, some uppercuts, bam. First round, just keep doing that. And you go back to that corner blowing. And he won't get it back. As long as you can stay on him with feints and stuff, he won't get it back. That's Daniel's best chance. In terms of the other fights, the most intriguing is Willie Hutchinson. Willie Hutchinson talks like he can't be beat right now. And I like that energy. But Josh can beat him. But then, is Willie about to come of age where we go, right, Frank won't need Anthony Yarde after this? Because if Willie Hutchinson loses and loses badly, then I think Frank's going to have to get on the phone to Anthony Yarde and go, look, we need some peace talks. But I'm torn on this, but I'm going to back Willie Hutchinson to win that one on points. Hamza Shears versus Tyler Denny. I want Tyler Denny to win. I just feel when I saw the two together, Shears is too big. And if he can get that backhand going, I think he could stop Tyler Denny. And he'll have to. If he's that special guy we're talking about, that's how he'll have to do it. He'll have to stop him. Josh Kelly versus Ishmael Davis. I think Ishmael Davis has got to do the same thing Dubois has got to do. Blitzkrieg. Get Josh hurt in that first round. Just hurt him. Have him bandy like Avanesian did. Have him nervous. And then just put the pressure on him. Because I saw that in the Olympics. When he was under pressure, do you know what I mean? He just went into his shell. And that's kind of what cost him. He should have won something at that Olympics and he didn't. Because he goes into his shell under pressure. Other fight, Mark Chamberlain to win. Just that's how the game goes, right? He's the only one that doesn't have to go 50-50 on these Saudi cards. So I don't know how he's managed to do that. No comment. I'm trying to think, who else have we not touched on? I have no idea now. My brain's fried. But I think they're the main fights we've talked about. If I've missed one, apologies. Like, I've literally just got in from the weigh-in and my brain is actually cooked. But we should touch on the rumors that Daniel's injured his right hand. So I've tried to get to the bottom of this, and it's hard, right? Because no one's going to want to reveal that. But the rumors that Daniel's injured his right hand. And what does that mean? It depends how you've injured it, right? Because you can do stuff. You can take an injection. You let the doctor know, look, we got an injection in there to numb the hand. He can do all sorts of things prior to the fight. But it's about the mechanics of it. So if nothing's broken in the hand, then he can crack on. But it also means you don't want to do 12 rounds. So will that affect the tactics in the fight? I hope so, because that gives us a better fight. I'm trying to think in terms of anything else we need to really talk about. I don't think so. But everyone's talking about this December 21st, Tyson Fury fighting as if it's a foregone conclusion. Everyone knows my view. I just don't see that fight happening because that would mess up the timings for Undisputed. Because then when does Undisputed happen? Do you see what I mean? Because if the fight happens now in September and then 3 months later it's Fury versus Usyk, they're going to need some downtime to rest and recover. So when are they going to fight? They're fighting this summer. The winner of this will have to fight again in, I don't know, February, March time. So, yeah, I don't think Undisputed is next. And what was really interesting was Hearn saying, I really want Tyson Fury to beat Usyk so we can have that domestic dust-up. He didn't say, I want Usyk to win so we can finally get that win over him that we deserve. And maybe that's just an acceptance that they can't beat Usyk. Or maybe I'm just reading between the lines. But here's what I do want to say, more importantly. Everyone watch that fight. Watch it in a pub, watch it at home, go to the stadium. If you know the right people, there's still tickets available. On God, there's still tickets available. It's nowhere near a sellout. Like, I was offered some tickets from multiple sources there's still tickets going. Don't worry. If you know the right people, there are tickets. No one asked me for a hookup. I don't think I've got the logistics right now, but you never know. But that's what I would say. I'm 50-50 at the moment whether I watch it at home or at the stadium, unless I get really good seats. Otherwise, I want to really see the nuance, because you guys are going to want my take on it. So I need to see the detail and the nuance and all the things that, you know, make these big fights interesting. And I know I'll say, listen, guys, take care. Enjoy the fight. I think my next pod will be obviously the review of the fight. So make sure you catch this one before the fight. And if you haven't, but make sure you catch this one before the fight. If you enjoy the content, as always, share. One of the things I didn't say about the weigh-in is it's awesome to meet people, man. People who love the pod, who love what I do with Porky, who love Porky. It's so good when people are like, mate, love what you do. So shouts out to all the guys, man, including like Cam Lewis and that. It's humbling. Like sometimes I'll sit here and I'm like, I don't know if I want to keep doing this anymore. You know, you feel a bit like, is it really hitting the way it needs to? And that's more of an internal conflict. And then you get the feedback from the public and you're like, no, I've got to keep going. Like there's a purpose behind this. So we'll definitely be carrying on, and don't know how long for, but we'll be carrying on. This is going to take us to 2:30. I have a feeling we might get to 250 by the end of the year, which would be good going. It's average about one a week. That's all right. And then we're on the road to 300, and then I'll make a decision then. By then, I think I would have given boxing fans enough content to keep them happy for a long, long time. Just think about that, man. Like, that would have been, if I do 300 of this one, plus the 100 from before, plus the like 130, 140 with New Age. Wow. And then you can count the Porky episodes as well. Like how many of those are there? My voice will be all over the internet, man. I'm in all kinds of large language models now, I'm sure. But listen, guys, take care. Like I said, enjoy the fight. If you enjoy this, share the content. Let's keep the word spreading. Side note, and probably at this point everyone's turned off. Someone tell me whose gym is not open on a weekend. People who don't open their gyms on a weekend, right? In London. Anyone that doesn't open their gym on a weekend in London, just give me names of gyms that do that. I might have to run a little like pilot project. Okay, on that note, salute and take care.